From Synozur, this is Polaris. I'm Chris McNulty. Every business wants to boost productivity and operational excellence, but few know where to start. How do you turn around a company and drive continuous improvement on the front lines? Today, we'll sit down with someone who's done just that, a Lean and Six Sigma expert who became an owner to transform a business from within. This is Polaris. Welcome to Polaris Pathways. I'm your host, Chris McNulty, Chief Technology Officer at Synozur. Synozur, the transformation company, reimagines business for our clients, navigating strategies and leadership culture with ease. Today, I'm happy to introduce Damien Lacey, founder and director of OE Partners. Damien is an experienced operational excellence consultant with decades of experience helping organizations improve efficiency, quality, and profitability. He's a mechanical engineer, fluent in Japanese, worked with Bosch and Toyota, and about 10 years ago, he founded OE Partners in Australia. He is not just a consultant. He and his team actually bought a manufacturing company, Tru Steel, to bring operational excellence to the front lines. And he'll be joining us in a few minutes. But first, let's define our terms and our data points. And as always, our reading list and references will be included in the show notes. Let's look at why operational transformation matters right now. According to McKinsey, companies today face intense pressure from global disruptions and rapid change. In fact, Lean Six Sigma methodologies are seeing a resurgence as companies look for ways to tackle challenges like inflation, supply chain disruptions, and worker shortages. It remains one of the top continuous improvement approaches for businesses. At the same time, a generational shift is underway. According to Entrepreneur magazine, with over 12 million small to mid-sized businesses in the U.S. owned by baby boomers, the upcoming silver tsunami of retirements is creating a buyer's market of companies up for sale. And this unprecedented wave of exits is reopening new opportunities for transformation as owners change out. Those who excel at operations can reap huge benefits. To give one example, McKinsey noted a mining company which boosted their output by 25% in 1 year without increasing capital or labor costs. In short, operational excellence has never been more critical or timely for maintaining your competitive advantage. Okay, we have Damien waiting in our virtual green room. Let's go. Welcome back. So today, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Damien Lacey. Welcome to Polaris, Damien.
Thank you, Chris. Great to be here.
Where are you calling from today?
So I'm calling from Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, so way down south from where you are.
Love Melbourne. I love any place where you can just see penguins roaming free in a city park.
Yep, the penguins, they're definitely a draw card for us.
Melbourne's magnificent, all the alley culture, all of the history. The weather's fantastic. So it's been a few years since I've been down there, but I highly recommend it to our listeners. Before we talk about my journey, I'd love to introduce you and your journey. Mm-hmm. Could you introduce yourself to the audience and how you got started on this path?
Mechanical engineer, started working in the automotive industry. I worked for automotive parts supplier Robert Bosch. They were rolling out lean business systems, and I joined their team, their Bosch production system team, for that. Then I started working in the automotive industry, rolling out lean methods. I then moved to Toyota. So a lot of these principles, efficiency, productivity methods come from Toyota. I was keen to learn from the source, so I joined Toyota in their product development division. Spent a lot of time on cost reduction of products and processes. Spent a few years in Japan as well. Was sent back to their head office in Toyota City, and that was a formative experience. It was a very strict culture, very quality focused, very improvement focused. Great experience. Came back to Australia. Automotive industry pretty much wound up in Australia, and then started consulting to Australian businesses on productivity and improvement. And then of recent years, we, myself and a couple of other colleagues, we've then acquired a manufacturing business to so sitting on both sides of the table as a service provider, helping businesses, drive productivity, but then also as a manufacturing business owner as well, doing it for ourselves.
So if you reflect back on that journey, I'm going to ask you to sort of jump way back into school or university. Did you know this was the path you were headed on then?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, look, I started engineering through, lack of other strong options and encouragement from my family. Like I'm one of seven, and I think something like 5 out of my 7 siblings, out of the 7 of us have done an engineering degree. And so that sort of was a natural choice. I started learning Japanese on a whim, really, after a trip.
By the way, did your family get a volume discount once you have 5 people going for engineering?
Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? No, so it just sort of happened that way. And then, I started learning Japanese on a whim. Basically, coming back from a year overseas, thought I might want to learn a language, and then that really sort of had a big effect on my career. Me landing in Toyota.
What would you tell the university student version of you that you wish you knew back then?
I'd say invest in Bitcoin, Chris. That'd be my number one message. Get on that early. But no, in seriousness, it's an interesting question. Yeah, look, keep working hard. It'll work out. I think it'd be probably one of the things I would say.
Sure. So, Damien, to put it in current context, there's plenty of stories in the news with supply chain and tariffs and international trade, all of which spill over into operational excellence. What are some of the stories that are top of mind for you?
Firstly, has to be, AI. That's definitely something that's going to affect all forms of work, including knowledge work. And a lot of our time is spent, on management, which is largely, knowledge work. So it's interesting, though. We work a lot with small to medium enterprises, and I think we're definitely still at the start of the hype cycle. There is more energy, ideas, optimism about AI than the well-proven test cases out there, because if you talk to an SME business owner, they're pretty ruthless, right? They will embrace an idea quickly and with energy if it gives them a result, and dismiss it equally quickly if it doesn't. I think it's definitely something that we have to watch very, very carefully. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of ideas, but not as many, really well-founded use cases as there could be. But, it's a matter of time.
That's fascinating. I generally think of AI really hitting the knowledge worker space. But when I think about so many parts of operational discipline, I think about statistics and sigmas and the rest. But obviously, AI is going to land there. So we're talking about operational excellence. In operational excellence, some of those disciplines that you've mentioned, like Lean and Six Sigma, why do they rise to top of mind, do you think, for businesses these days?
Well, look, there's a constant pressure for businesses to be productive and reduce waste. Lean, Six Sigma, these things have been around for almost, probably 100 years. They've been sort of slowly developing as a tool set of different ideas. So they're really well tested, and they've been developed for a long time. They've been applied into any industry that you can think of, right? It's not a situation where a business owner might sit there and pick up a book on lean thinking and ask themselves the question, oh, I wonder if this applies to my industry. No, that's not the question, right? It does, and it has. Then there's numerous case studies in just about every industry of applying these methods. So it's really the question is, how do I apply it? How do I make, how do I leverage the benefits of these ideas in my business? Because there'll be numerous examples that they'll be able to draw from.
One of the things, Damien, I find really fascinating about your story is it's wonderful to be able to advise small to mid business on that transition and on that operational side. But you took the plunge yourself. You bought a manufacturing business not that long ago, which sounds exciting and scary. What's that like?
Yeah, it's both those things. It's definitely exciting, and it is scary because it's a whole new industry and it's a whole new product for us. So we design, manufacture, and install steel buildings, sheds, warehouses, factories, that sort of thing. We've got a pretty solid team and technical background, but there's just a lot of knowledge to know about a shed and a depth of knowledge that unless you're in it, you don't realize. But there's a lot to it, So getting our heads across that has been a challenge, and then the number one challenge of small business owners is making sure that there's a steady pipeline of work, and working out those processes as well. So there's a lot to do in a short period of time, but we're excited about it. We've got a really, really strong team, great history, 40 years of history that we're building upon. So it's an exciting journey.
So I am curious, it's a chicken and egg question here. Either you found the business and were advising them and realized it was something that you wanted to do, or you realized you wanted to own a business and started looking for one. Which was it for you?
Yeah, well, it was the latter. I mean, the genesis was a couple of colleagues in the consulting business that I run, OE Partners. We do this work for clients, right? We review process, identify where the constraints are, scope out process changes and improvements, and yield the benefits, right? And it's great. It's good, interesting work. A lot of variety. Good to see the results of the work that we do. But we sort of thought, we really should be doing this for ourselves, not just for fees. And so that's what led to the search. So we spent about 2 years looking, refining our criteria, reviewing businesses, getting into all sorts of negotiations until we finally landed on the business that we did close on.
So I would imagine, I know that in consulting, businesses look different from the outside than on the inside. And I know that that's also true on the acquisition side. So now that you're on the inside, let's talk about first what that journey was going from outside to in. What did you discover along the way that was interesting or exciting or surprising?
There's a lot of duds out there. It was the first thing I learned. We learned because we were looking at the range of businesses from, EBIT of about, say, 300K to up to $1 million EBIT. And that's Australian dollars, so that's going to be lower than your US audience is used to in terms of dollar figures, right? And so there's some great businesses in there, but there's also a lot of chaff. There's a lot of bycatch in there as well. You don't have the gold. So it was just a process really of sorting through, a lot of businesses to trying to find the ones that are worth your time.
When I do some consulting or evaluation, oftentimes you get in and you look at the financial statements and you find they're terrible or they're poorly formed. Unfortunately, it usually gets worse from there. Has that been your experience too? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. In most instances, I mean, look, the broker's job is to sell the business, and the owner's job for himself or herself and their family is to get the best price they can, and that's entirely reasonable. But it's definitely buyer beware. You have to unpick what it is that they're presenting in terms of the financials, and make sure there aren't ups there, because you'll get a business which on paper looks great, but then you dig deeper and figure out it's a completely different story. I remember there was one business in particular, windows and doors manufacturing business. We thought, okay, suits our manufacturing background, servicing a large market, not leveraged on one big customer. Doing $12 million in revenue. So, okay, that's a sizable business, and it's only making about $400,000 in earnings. I was like, oh, okay, well, this must be a golden opportunity for us, because it's the way they're running the business, obviously, that's chewing up all their profits. And if they've got such a big revenue base, surely we'll be able to come in and turn it around. But it was only after several meetings going through the financials that we uncovered it was really a messy generational transition from the father owner to the younger sons. And the reason why the profit was so bad was because the son had set up a separate sales and marketing entity. So he was generating the leads for the business through a separate web marketing portal. Basically, the business was left with no margin because all of the sales margin was being hived off by this separate entity. 3 or 4 meetings in, and then he said, "Oh no, I'm not selling the sales and marketing side of it. I'm just selling the operations." Well, there's no profit in that, and this was the reason why it was a conflict in the family. He set up his own thing, shouldn't have done it, starving the business of profit for his own benefit. So it was an absolute mess, and we'd wasted sort of 4 or 5 meetings to get to the bottom of it.
Let's talk a little bit about Tru Steel as well. There's a song by The Who called "Won't Get Fooled Again" that has the lyric, "Meet the new boss, same as the old boss."
Yeah.
Right. The challenge for you is to not do that. You're there to be able to implement change and be able to deal with the cultural shifts. What has that journey been like for you, being an owner-operator with an existing team in place?
Yeah, look, I mean, firstly, cannot fault the previous owners. So Jared and Michael, 2 brothers, ran the business for sort of over 30 years, and they have been, rock solid for us, giving us all of the time that we've needed, and continue to support us in the journey. So they've been tremendous. It's really the job of us to get our heads around the product, the design process, how to build a quote, how to convince the prospective customers that we're the right value solution for them. So that's been the challenge, and the other challenge has been trying to automate, make efficient what they are doing just off their, from skill, right? The team, Jared and Michael, they can quote requirements, design the shed, produce a quote in the blink of an eye, because they've been doing it for years, and it's all in their heads, and they don't need a process, because what a waste of time. They know how to do it. They do it quickly. But for us to be able to replicate that, it's been a challenge. That's been a challenge. It's sort of mining all that information from their head, putting it into a process that can be replicated by others. and then hiring sales staff and getting them to follow that process. That's been the job.
One of the things in our business, you and I have spoken about this, is Synozur focuses primarily on strategy development, leadership culture, those major either or choices. And so there's an interplay between that and operational transformation, because the best conceived strategies and experiments don't matter if you can't go execute. How do you balance the strategy that you bring in and develop with the need to continue operating the business?
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge. It's a challenge for our clients, and it's also a challenge for us running this business now. And you've just got to make a series of decisions along the way to say, listen, the change that we're making now, let's say we put in a new quoting tool, right? Because the old quoting way, it doesn't exist, and it's all in someone's head. We would love to spend, 2 weeks and really nail it down and automate it, perfectly the first time, but we just don't have that time or resource. So you've got to, in that instance, you've got to choose to iterate, right? Because you've got to balance the fact that we've got 30 quotes to execute this week, right? Versus, but I want to make it, the best quoting system that was ever created. So yeah, it's you've got to balance that and iterate, not letting perfect be the enemy of the good.
I like that. I may quote you on that the next time I'm doing a strategy.
Yeah, sure.
I was just thinking about what you were saying about the prior owners of the business, that they just had an instinctual way to go out and respond to requests and be able to formulate a quote and a bid without needing a system, because it's sort of innate for them. For you, operational transformation and operational excellence may be innate, and it so well. There are some things that you probably know about it that our audience may not know. What are some of the things that you think are not well understood or misunderstood about operational excellence?
It's broad. Let's stick with the example we've been talking about, which is the small to medium business and run by owners who are heavily involved in the business. Probably the most common pain point or frustration I hear is that, look, our business is different. It's not standard. It changes all of the time. The requirements of the project change. There's seasonal factors. I get people, they come and go. It's always different all of the time. And so then the understanding from that experience is that, well, I can't change it. I mean, I can't improve it. But what's the point? I can't change the weather. So, and it is true in the short term, right? If you really try and bed down process or look at the work and think of it as steps and think about how to, make it more consistent, put in tools, put in systems, you're not going to yield the benefit for the first few months, potentially, right? The work and effort you're putting in today isn't going to pay off until a few weeks, maybe even a few months later. The thing to keep in mind is that there is a path towards more control, more organization, more efficiency, but yeah, it's got to be chipped away at, and you've kind of got to, keep the faith for people like us and, other people working in improvement, because you've done it so many times. So it's very easy for us to believe that continually to put in procedures, take an issue, what was the root cause, fix it properly, it will yield because you've seen it improve things 100 times before. But as a small to medium business owner in the thick of it, it can be a challenge to see that path out of the chaos.
Do you think it's true or false that most business owners, especially in the small to mid range, overestimate how excellent they are at doing their business?
I wouldn't say they overestimate it. I think a lot of business owners that I talk to, they are aware of the shortcomings. They know there's opportunities for improvement. They're frustrated by how long the work takes to get done. So they're aware. They're aware of that, I would say. Probably the shortfall is specifically what to do about it and how to execute it, right? That's probably the question. And then having the resources to get that done. They're probably the key hurdles for the business owner, rather than, thinking that we're the best thing since sliced bread and no one's going to beat us. And look, maybe I haven't got a perfectly relevant sample size, because I'm talking to business owners as a consultant who are proactive, who are looking to improve and are open to outside, ideas. That's why they're having a conversation with an operational excellence consultant. But in general, though, I would say that most business owners, they're continually frustrated. They're continually dissatisfied with how they're performing, or at least they're the ones that I spend most of my time talking to.
So let's talk to the small business owners, medium business owners who are listening to this, who may be feeling just what you said. When you're thinking about the OE partners side,
sure.
Once someone recognizes they have a problem, where do you recommend people get started?
Yeah, look, there's more than one avenue to get started, right? You can self-learn, pick up a book, read, watch a YouTube video, listen to a podcast. We are so fortunate. There's so much expertise out there that's pretty much a click away. So start there. Talk to some of your colleagues, your fellow business owners, about particular problems that they may have had, and some of the solutions that they put in place. And I would be very surprised if you talk to 10 people, at least a fair chunk of those would have said, you know what, we really decided to apply lean thinking to our business. We really decided to double down on how we do the work, not just chasing the next project, but how do we actually run the business? And it's yielded us big benefits. Absolutely, engage a third party expert like us. Get a fresh perspective. Probably get a more data and analytical driven view of your business, and really change this idea that I think there's a few different things I could be doing to change and improve, to knowing we need to do these 3 or 4 things, and they will really shift the dial in terms of our performance. So there are probably a few things that I'd recommend your business owner to do.
Let's roll it forward a little bit. I love how you've put this into practice at Tru Steel for yourself, as well as the way you guide your clients. How do you see this playing out over the next few years? You've talked about how AI is transforming this aspect of the business. Do you see Lean, Six Sigma, Agile, all of these excellence methodologies, do you see them becoming more prominent, or do you see AI pushing them to the side?
Oh, no, I think more, if not less. With AI and other productivity improvement methods, I think what's going to happen is the gap between the average company and the excellent companies will widen, right? And the businesses that don't adopt it altogether will just fall by the wayside. But I think it's really going to highlight and accelerate the difference between the average and the excellent, because the people who are excellent are going to be 10 times more effective, as opposed, or even 100 times more effective, whereas previously there wouldn't have been that big a gap. And look, at the end of the day, AI and automation, etc., it's to drive productivity and efficiency. These ideas, and tools and methods are really, that's what Lean is about. That's what Six Sigma and Agile methods are all about. So it's really just going to accelerate that journey.
And what do you see as next for Tru Steel?
Oh, look, world domination, Chris. That's the next step. No, we've got we've got a pretty ambitious plan for the business. We really want to grow it into something significant through organic means and also inorganic means. But really, we do have we're relatively young guys, and we've got a lot of ideas. But at the moment right now, we really have to stick to our knitting and make sure that, we build a solid foundation to go forward from there.
I love to shift the focus away from the worlds of business and technology and look into the world at large. Is there something that's had an impact on you that you could share with the audience?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Family is probably the biggest thing outside of business, right? And the difference between when I was a kid and my kids' experience now, and in terms of what they watch, they watch these YouTube shorts, they watch these TikTok videos, and so I think back to when I was a kid, and one of the shows that really I thought had a positive impact was Star Trek. It's such a different format to the type of media that the kids are consuming today. It's a group of people, and they come across problems, and they work as a team, and they solve them. And there's usually a few moral hurdles that they need to jump over as well. I think it had a positive impact on me, and I'm trying to get my kids to watch it, but it's a challenge. It's too long.
Do you see yourself as a classic Star Trek person, a next generation person? Or do all these new shows?
It was all of them, really. I think after school, the original ones with Captain James T. Kirk, and then Next Generation, and then there was a few other. Voyager. I'm actually watching the Voyager series with my daughter, because it's great, because you've got the Captain Catherine. She's the female lead, and she's there leading the ship. It's great to watch with my teenage daughter.
I think there are more Star Trek shows than there are streaming channels these days.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Damien, it's been great chatting with you. What's the best way for the audience to stay in touch?
I think the easiest way would be to reach out on LinkedIn. So if you just type in Damien Lacey, Operational Excellence, will come up, OE Partners. Drop me a message, and we can chat further from there.
Fantastic. Well, it's been great sitting down with you today and sharing your story with the audience. I'm looking forward to hearing how this plays out for you, and hope you'll be able to come back and join us in another year or so to see what's going on with Tru Steel and where OE Partners has gone.
Love to. Look forward to it.
So, Damien Lacey, he is the founder of OE Partners and the owner-operator of Tru Steel. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Great to be on.
We'll be right back. Up next on Polaris, events. Halfway through 2025, there seem to be more events than ever coming up. Here's what we're watching. Seattle Tech Week, July 28th to August 1st. The Seattle Tech Forum and multiple organizations will be sponsoring 70 networking events in and around the Emerald City. FY26 Forward, Microsoft Partner Success Strategies. On August 26th, I'll be sitting down with CEO Michelle Caldwell for a fireside chat covering Microsoft's new fiscal year and how Microsoft partners can best align for success. The TribalNet Conference, September 14th to 18th in Reno, Nevada. The London Tech Leaders Summit. This will be October 7th through 8th near the Tower of London at the Minster Building in London, England. Experts Live is coming October 10th at Microsoft New York in Times Square. Vancouver AI Summit is October 20th at Harbor Center in Vancouver, British Columbia. Closing out the year, we're looking ahead to TechCon 365 in Dallas and Microsoft Ignite this November in San Francisco, as well as ESPC 25 this December in Dublin, Ireland. We'll have more details later in the year. We'll add links to all of that and more in the show notes. You can learn more at Synozur.com/events, and we'll add more events as we learn about them. And if you have an upcoming event you'd like us to promote on Polaris, please get in touch, and we'd be happy to include it. Well, that's a wrap for another episode. I'd like to thank our guest, Damien Lacey, for joining us and sharing his thoughts on operational transformation, lean, and leadership. We encourage you to check out our show page for links to everything we talked about today and more. You can visit us at polaris.synozur.com. Got questions or feedback for us? We'd love to hear from you. Send us a message on LinkedIn or reach out via email at polaris@synozur.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and tell all your friends about the show. It really helps others discover us. And follow us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Polaris is produced with help from Riverside FM. Our theme song, Alternative Dream, is provided courtesy of Adobe. Additional music and sound provided by Indie Guy Records. Graphic design by Josh Brantley. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris McNulty, and this has been Polaris, a show that charts the course for business and technology transformation from Synozur. Learn more at Synozur.com. See you next time.